What's up, everyone? This is Player Coach Connection, episode 2, week 2. And we're really excited to be joined by two great former coaches who are still actively involved. Matt's really close with both these guys, so I'll let Matt take this over.
Yeah, for sure. What's going on, everybody? It's great for us to introduce these two guys that are, joining us and helping us. Coach Meat. Obviously, all the women's coaches out there, they'll know this guy. He's been around forever. We go way back to our Georgia Highlands days, and obviously, I know what he does and how hard he works and how connected he is. So I think he's a huge asset for the company, just to kind of break into the women's side. And there's people familiar with him and trust him, and it just helps us grow faster. And then obviously Bryce as well. He's been helping us, I don't know, for the past month or so with all types of things, which has been awesome. He's been a huge help for Tyler and I. So with him focusing on some different things, and me and him go back to our West Texas days when he was at Odessa, and we battled it out, two really good teams, and always kept in touch when he moved on. And so I know how hard he works, and players that he knows and coaches that he knows. So he'll bring a little different dynamic than Coach Meat, but I think we'll all be able to work really well together and get this thing going and help a lot of players as well as coaches. So we're excited about it. Tyler, kind of back to you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on tonight and talking a little bit. So we'll start with you, Bryce. Kind of give us a brief little bio about you, where you've been, what you've done, and then Meet, you can go ahead and follow up.
I played here in Kentucky. We're a Division II school, Berea, but at the time they were Division II. We were finished up, and right from there I went to Daytona State College with the great Ryan Ritter, who's now head coach at Tennessee Martin. But I was there with him for 2 seasons. We did really well. Had a lot of guys, a lot of Florida kids. So we were, touch base there for a lot. And, we stayed on the East Coast, had a few guys, but did really well. Went from there to Odessa, there where we battled out the Texans, beat them and won the regular season. I think we did really well, but they ended up beating us in the long run. We won't tell them, but they did well.
I think they won the national title that year too, didn't they?
Yeah, they were good. We battled it out. Played them about 8 times. Yeah, from there, Mineral Area with Luke Strigi, the great. At Odessa, I was with Trey Arnold, who then went on to Iona and he had a lot of success there after he left us. So he did well. So he was a great one. We learned a lot from him, me and, the other assistants there. But from there, went to Mineral Area. And the last 3 seasons, Georgetown, Kentucky, just an NAIA program, did really well, won the national title in 2019, right before I got there. And we had just won the conference before COVID hit. So in the last 2 seasons, we made the tournament and didn't do well. So been in coaching for 7 seasons, excited to be a part of it, but this is my first 3 months, I guess, out of it. So it's exciting, but yeah, so it's been fun. This first month has been great with you guys. It showed me a lot of, times where we will be needed, and it's going to be exciting to be needed at that time. And just like we all were coaches, we were needed then. So we're needed now. So at this, it's just a different avenue, and I'm excited to be here.
My name is Demetrius. Well, been coaching for 13 years, 12 years on the women's side. Started out at South Georgia Tech on the men's side. Coach Jay Crowder, that plays in the NBA now with the Phoenix Suns. Moved over to the women's side the following year, coaching with Coach Harrell. He and I went on to win a conference championship at South Georgia Tech. We ended up leaving South Georgia Tech in 2012 and moved up to Georgia Highlands, where I met Coach Matt Williams, Iceman as I call him. Won a conference championship there with Coach Harrell. After 5 years there, decided to take a break. Had a daughter, got back in it, came back to South Georgia Tech, won a couple of championships there. So I've been with the women's basketball, JUCO basketball for 12 years. Super excited to be on the team with these guys. I think they bring a lot to me. We all bring a lot to the table, but they bring a lot more knowledge to me about the recruiting service. Being a part of this team, I think it'll be great for us, especially for me, to keep it connected with the women's side and help expand the team with PCC to get more women's on the service and, you know, getting it going. So 13 years, won 4 conference championships in junior college basketball.
Okay. No, that's great. Appreciate you guys. I mean, kind of next thing, I mean, I think you guys both touched on it a little bit. But I guess what are the positives for you, the pros for you, to be joining us and working on the scouting service, and Bryce, not only the scouting service, but Bryce is, working on both sides, which I think is great because he's just building connections and meet more people. And obviously he's helping a lot of players. But, if you guys could just kind of talk about, some of the advantages for you, whether you stay out of coaching and you get to kind of stay doing different avenues like Bryce said, or maybe, you do this for a little while and the right opportunity comes around and you hop back in. Obviously, I know we learned just through COVID, things change quick and coaching, change even faster. So, a lot of things can happen over time, but obviously, working together on this to build this is great. So just kind of talk about a little bit of, the advantages of this and what you're looking forward to and, how you think it'll help you and obviously athletes as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is once you've noticed, like I said earlier, if it's helping immediately. So with our recruiting services, I've seen it in the men's side coaching that, and there are examples out there right now with very large platforms, very large social media platforms that we're aspiring to and feel like we can reach and have done already. And I think, that's what you've seen on the men's side a lot of times is, I think there's a very big avenue for us on the women's side on the social media platform, which, goes a long way right now, so I feel like that along with our recruiting services, it's just, I don't think the girls have it. It's there. Just speaking with guys on the men's side on the platform, JUCO Showcase it, for example, I just feel like the platform will be there and, it's exciting to find, be in touch with you guys, personally, because I feel like you guys recognize that there was, space for us. And, if you guys got the right people around you, it's exciting. So as far as coaching, it's fun to know you're still in the game right now because it feels like you are, in a way when you do sign up with us, and like a lot of men's sides have seen and a little bit of the women's, you just see like, you're a part of the team, you're helping the recruiting. And if you trust in us, then we feel like we're helping you enough to, have that connection. And that's what you look for in coaching. So it's nice to keep that.
Yeah.
And the pros for me, like everyone said, is basically keeping us in the game of basketball, either on the sideline or either getting back into recruit. I think building a relationship with more people now on the recruiting side, since that's one of my favorite things to do, it allows me myself to continue to build this relationship once I get back into basketball with the 4-year schools, maybe put me on the track to being on the coaching team with another school. It also give me a little bit more knowledge of the recruiting side. It helps me build a relationship better with players. For the players, I think the pros are, I mean, you think about the top 10 players that's, in a system, or the top 2 players on the team, it doesn't just help the top best players on the team. It helps the ones that's not getting a chance to get seen by joining PCC. It just, for me, it's a great opportunity for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's really why Matt and I started it, was to give more kids the opportunity. Like Matt and I talked about on our last one, we're both from small towns, and we didn't really get recruited because we were from small areas. And so we started this to be able to reach more players, to give them an opportunity to get that exposure, whether it's, here in the States, it's international, and obviously for this platform, it's the junior college level. And it helps, not just like you said, those top 2-3 players, it helps the entire team. So talking about that, I'll ask you this one first. What are your experiences in terms of JUCO recruiting? When you were recruiting for JUCO, what were your experiences on that side of things as a junior college coach?
It was tough. A lot of parents, a lot of players, a lot of, stigmatism behind junior college basketball. Don't go junior college, don't go junior college. A lot of people don't want to hear about going junior college because the parents, the student athletes are so sold on, I'm going to Division I. I have to go to a 4-year school. Junior college don't get you better. You really have to sell your program that you're working for. And a lot of time you can find that the best athlete that doesn't have the grades, knowing they need to go to junior college, they won't go junior college because they feel like that's a fail instead of being a success. But you having a success story by bringing them to junior college, when you do have those kids in your program and you develop them, you graduate them, you move them on to a 4-year school, it kind of sort of build a relationship for the other ones, like transfer players, the better kids that you're gonna have some kids that's limited to something, even player deficiency, grades, attitude, or something to that nature. Letting them know that junior college is a success story, can be a success story, helps them out along the way. But I think for me, the most part is just trying to get into their heads like junior college is one of the best things that ever happened to student athletes.
Yeah, right along with that. I started out immediately recruiting in Florida. So it was, I can remember just going from Kentucky, obviously. So it was a little different, as far as the talent pool, but it was, a lot of fun. We seen immediately that these guys were, had relationships with Division I teams down there, and that's a lot of fun when you're doing kind of the higher end guys that are, they've developed that relationship throughout their high school career. So, that comes along with, JUCO recruiting, and that's a lot of fun of it. So it's as I went through my career, I've learned, building relationships with the kids, and then building, that bond with those guys. It lasts, and it helps, with cities, as far as relationships with the coaches. And, recruiting is, it's the same in junior college as it is, in my opinion, a lot of places, based off the guys I've talked to, you're dealing with the same kids, and a lot of times you're dealing with some guys that, had a hiccup on the way, or, just didn't feel like they were recruited highly enough. And it's a lot of fun just trying to transport those guys. I know you guys dealt with it, obviously battling against each other, but it was, a lot of fun to do. And I think it'll help a lot in this, in this scene, because what it, you almost feel for the people that don't get seen, because, there's guys on the roster that you've been with, that haven't been seen. And, it was almost up to me or the other assistant or the head coach to reach out to guys and, help along the way, because we knew, they had what it took. And, you give their word on a certain player because you feel like, that's where they belong. And this is, right up all of our avenue, obviously, just because this is where, a lot of the girls will be seen. So, I think, to answer your question, that's a lot of what recruiting can be, is just a lot of relationship building and keeping that over the years.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I think JUCO, a lot of people, like Meat said, a lot of people, coaches, high school coaches, parents, student athletes, they have this negative mindset about JUCO. And then, all of a sudden they show up on a JUCO campus and they watch a game or they watch a practice and they say, whoa, you know, this is a lot different than I thought. That was kind of one of my favorite parts, is when we got to South Plains. We obviously we had, the resources and the history, and we would hit the D1 transfer, list hard. And, when you're recruiting a guy, a Division I transfer, and they're, hey, yeah, I'm gonna go JUCO, and you can just tell that their mindset is, hey, I'm going to JUCO, and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. And then all of a sudden they show up and they start looking around the first open gym, and then they kind of look at you like, all right, yeah, it's a little different than I expected. Like, and they start asking like who's that guy? Like, where was he at before? And I don't think a lot of people really realize the talent level and the depth of JUCO. And I think some four-year schools miss out on that as well, because we've all dealt with really good players and really good teams. And at the end of the year, there's always some players that are still undervalued or slept on or whatever, however you want to say it. So I think this is a great way for us to promote everybody, whether you average 18 a game or you average 4. If you're on the right team, you're in the right system and you're winning, if you're getting on the floor and you're contributing and winning, there's somewhere for you to play. So hopefully we can, kind of help those players find that, and help coaches make it a little easier for coaches to find players like that, depending on their level, depending what they need, depending what they look for. So kind of just bouncing off that, I guess, I know me and Tyler experienced it a lot, but just, we've probably all experienced the same things, but just for people watching and girls watching, JUCO players watching, as coaches, JUCO coaches, what were kind of the things that you would consistently hear from four-year schools, the questions that they would ask, or the things that they would be looking for, kind of what were the key things that either really helped those athletes move on or maybe prevented them from doing so?
For me, the major things I used to hear from four-year school: how's her grades? Can she help us win the championship? Is she a liability or not? Can she help us on and off the court? Is she responsible? Can she play? Not just can she just play, but can she be coached? Can she play under pressure? Can she handle the limelight? Can she follow instructions from the coaches? How's her mentality? What's her family like? They want to know the family background. They want to know the history of who's in their ear when it's time to make that decision to go to a four-year school. Like, would she do what she's supposed to do in the classroom? How's her work ethic? Just, if she's going to be a valuable part to the program, if she's going to help us, hurt us one way or another. And those are the biggest thing I hear all the time. Just talking to four-year school now, being out of, coaching, still hear those questions to this day.
Right. Yeah. What I did take from it, being in junior college this entire time is, a lot of the Division I schools, what will surprise you is the highest major school you could think of at the top on TV, in a household name is what I take. They're worried about the exact same things as the smallest school you can think of in NAIA. And that's what I think a lot of players need to see, is that correlation with the schools is there's not much difference to it. So what it is, and Coach just hit on it, a lot of it is, how are the classroom, and it's not as much, we will get, are they getting through? Yes. Are they passing? Yes. But are they going to be a liability to us? Are we going to have to worry about them? And that goes for women as well, but I was on the men's side. So for, all these years, and I've just noticed, a lot of times they've they've asked, are we going to have to take away from what we're doing to win basketball games to help them in the classroom? And that's just something that they've always stuck on, always, harped on with me, because, a lot of times myself, as you could get caught up in the scout or however it may be, and you don't notice their tendencies, and then you almost have to notice the tendency. So it allowed me to see, it allowed me to even build that relationship, because I knew I had to, give my honest opinion to guys that were going to be recruiting them and going to be, giving them a scholarship. So it's, a lot of that comes with it. I think, are they in the gym is my last one. And, all those things what coach said, so I'm just piggybacking, but are they in the gym, as I've heard countless times, so, and I think, not to be cliche, but that's what separates the guys, a lot of times people are natural, but are they in the gym, and, were they, going to be consistent in the classroom? So that's a lot. And that's, as a coach, that was important for me too, recruiting at the 4-year school, so I was asking the same questions, fortunate enough to grab a lot of junior college kids that needed NAIA those last years at Georgetown. So it was, that's kind of what I've seen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think all of us have heard countless questions, and it doesn't matter if you're on the men's side, the women's side, it goes back to, are you going to be a benefit to our program, or are you going to be a negative to our program? If you're going to be a negative, if there's too much chatter around you, then it's not worth it for us to bring you here. And that goes for if you're a high school player or a junior college player. But when you're in junior college, it just seems to get highlighted even more so, because you're there for a reason. So, but, kind of the last question I have for you guys is, if I'm looking to get recruited, what advice do you have for me that will have me stand out to get recruited by 4-year colleges?
Immediately I would say, build, be respectful, because the relationship you have with them does go a long way. Immediately, if you were talking with me or talking with, the best guys doing it, whoever they are that year. But I think it's a lot. If you would go into it with that, this is a relationship that I need to build in a positive way, because there's only going to be positive coming back to you, so speaking to anyone being recruited that needs this service, absolutely. That's, so that's one thing. And, a lot of times you would see, the relationship being built, and then they would notice the more that your tendencies in a positive manner. So they then notice, that you are in the gym, if you are in the gym. So, those type of things, and those wouldn't miss in the crack. So I think building that relationship first, because, if you're in this position where you're all good players, we're all going to play somewhere and be, at the next level. So, that relationship from the get-go, because that's what it's going to be. And so if they find interest in you, let's, start from there.
I definitely agree. To piggyback off that, definitely build a relationship with the coaching staff. Find out the likes and dislikes. But also remember, when you get recruited, you got to go where you can grow, not go where you're going to play. Go where you can grow, not just on the basketball side, but in life as well too.
Yeah, no, I think both of those things are super important. And one thing, now that I'm out of coaching, but still kind of able to help players and talk to players and former players and, all the stuff that we're doing. And even now kind of transitioning into, I guess, kind of the real world, the corporate world, however you want to call it, with my job now, it's so important to be likable. When people like you, you can make it so much further. Like, you might not be a great basketball player, but if people like you, coaches like you, your teammates like you, the teachers like you, people coming to the games like you, good things are going to eventually happen for you, probably because, you, like Bryce says, you're, being respectful. Like you say, you have relationships with people. And, when you do those things and you work hard and you're a good person, hey, You might not make it to the NBA, you might not make it to the WNBA, you might not get paid millions of dollars to play professionally, but you'll end up being successful at whatever you're trying to do just because people like you, and they'll probably be willing to help you out. So I think that's important because we all coach a lot of people that we just stay. I'm ready for them to move on, and they didn't always have the same amount of success as the players that you coach and say, man, I'm gonna miss them. Whether they average 20 a game or they average 6, but they always brought good vibes and people like being around them, and you loved having them on the team. You love coaching them. You love seeing them every day. And when you have a team full of people like that, I think it makes life a lot better. And I think that's something for 4-year schools to, one thing they'd always ask me, do people like them? The coaches like, do you like coaching them? Do the teammates like him? What do the teachers like him? And it sounds simple, but there's a lot to be said just about something like that.
Yeah, I think, to kind of piggyback off that, but to be a little more, probably cliche, I think one of the biggest things that you can do is watch basketball, or watch the sport that you are in. You got to learn from your mistakes. You got to actually be willing to sit there and watch yourself and learn where you need to be. And then also watch, the highest level, watch as much, film as you can, and actually watch it not as a fan, but actually see the way that players move without the ball, see the way that, these NBA players, not everyone is Kyrie Irving dribbling the ball 500 times and going and making a layup. More often than not, most players are in one spot and they are a role player, and they serve that role extremely, extremely well. And I think as a player, if you understand that, it allows you to stand out from the rest of the competition if you can buy into being, whether it's a 3-point specialist where you sit in the corner and you catch and shoot, but you're the best sit in the corner and catch and shoot guy that you can be, or whether it's you make the right play at all the time. You come off a ball screen and you hit the roll man the way you're supposed to hit the roll man, or you making the right plays and you're making people better. I think just studying film and learning about the game will help you tremendously. And it's the same thing when you get into the corporate world. Matt and I talk all the time about, in Matt's business, he's engulfed in trying to be the best, he can be at his new job, and I'm doing the same thing with myself. And then, in PCC here, we're trying to engulf ourselves and know what's out there and how we can be better and how we can benefit everyone around us. So it doesn't just help in the recruiting side. It helps once you get, outside of sport and into quote unquote the real world. So thank you guys for joining us. Sorry we kept you so dang late tonight, but we really appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll do another one of these in the future, have everyone back on, and we'll kind of see how the JUCO women's side is going and keep building that thing up. Anyone have any last thoughts?
Thank you. Thank you for.
It was fun. I enjoyed it. Look forward to doing some more of these and bringing other people on, and women's side, men's side, NIL, athletes, all types of stuff.